All right, welcome back, folks. So if you've been following along in our weekly quiz list, you know that the overall structure is we have a question, 4 answer choices, and then we discuss going through each of the different answer choices. Well, this time, I don't want to limit ourselves to just whatever's written down here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a kind of overview on botnets and how they operate. So let's begin with what is a botnet? A botnet stands for robot network. So essentially, it's a group of computers that are used to carry out automated tasks. Now, in the beginning, botnets were used for good things, for benign actions. Things such as web spidering, data mining, information gathering, things of that nature. I was actually talking to one of my coworkers this morning, and he was telling me a story about how there was a program that allowed him to actually sign up to be part of a botnet so that the researchers could use his computer's computing power when he wasn't using it. However, like all things, when a malicious individual decides they want to take a good technology and use it for bad, well, same thing happened with botnets. So an attacker, saw this technology or this ability laying around, instead of carrying out an attack from my single computer every single time, why not amplify it? If I try to attack a network and cause it to slow down, well, one computer really isn't going to do much. Imagine if you had 1,000 computers all sending requests into a network. Even by today's standards, it could shut down most organizations. So that kind of brings us to how they operate. So we started with the attacker, right? Bad person. An attacker actually has 2 targets. The first target is an individual, right? And why is this the individual? Well, they need to infect it to make it a bot. The second target is their end goal. It could be a corporation. It could be a server. It could actually be one individual, but they need a second target. All right, let's leave the target alone for now. Let's go back to the bot. So what happens when there's a bot? Well, they're generally grouped into the botnet. So you have all these different bots. But remember when I said a botnet carries out automated tasks? So the directions don't come directly from the attacker. The attacker actually sets up something called a CNC. That stands for a command and control center. So it relays the attacker's commands to the botnet. From there, actually let me write botnet up here. From there, the botnet would actually attack the target. All right, so that's how they operate. I do want to cover one more thing before we go. And that is, what is the purpose of this? We get that a botnet can be used for good. Data mining, web spidering, information gathering. Well, I did make a mention earlier about how if you had 1,000 computers in your botnet attacking an organization, you could actually shut down the organization. That's something called a DDoS, or a distributed denial of service attack. Right? That means the organization cannot access the resources that it needs to. It shuts down the network. Another attack that an attacker can use a botnet for is to do mass spamming. If I can send out 100 emails using one computer, well, imagine 1,000. You could also sniff traffic. Sniffing traffic really means that you're capturing the packets that are moving through the different networks, right? And once you sniff it, you can actually see some of the information in there. That's why it's important to use encryption, because if you sniff traffic that is unencrypted, you could actually get usernames and passwords to a lot of different websites and things of that nature. You can also conduct key logging en masse And key logging, as the name suggests, records the keystrokes that are put in by the user. So once again, they can steal the usernames and passwords. They can spread new malware. And that just simply means if there's a new virus or new Trojan out, well, they can spread it to the masses. Not only do they have these infected, but they can spread it all over the place, right? And a lot of times, in today's most recent news, we have a lot of data breaches, right? A lot of companies have these data breaches where their customers' credit card information, their login information, all these different records are discovered and put online. Well, using botnets, you can also do mass identity theft. All right, so I just had to clear off the board real quick. I did it so that we can now wrap up our discussion by talking about one last point. How do you counteract or protect yourself against botnets? So really, there's no replacement for a good judgment, right? Make sure you go through the best practices. And I'll run through a few of them right now. For instance, the first one, make sure you install antivirus software, right? It's there to help you. If not antivirus, at least anti-malware. 2, updates. Install updates and patches on all your devices. You know, sometimes Windows comes out with an update and you really don't want to wait that long to have all these updates installed. Well, they're there for a reason. They're generally there to help patch up any security vulnerabilities. So make sure your devices are up to date and that they're properly patched. And another practice that you can consider doing is by taking advantage of the cloud. But make sure you also have the proper encryption, right? When data is moving from the cloud to you and vice versa, make sure that it's properly encrypted so that these botnets cannot sniff out your passwords and sensitive data. All right, so in this week's QTNA, we covered what a botnet is, how they operate, and some of the best practices that you can enforce in order to protect yourselves against botnets. With that, I hope you enjoy your week, and I look forward to seeing you in the next QTNA. Bye.